Do we have anything in the bank account right now?
$7.
That's not a spot I want to see you in being 37 years old.
I currently live out of my car.
It stresses me more knowing that you're living out of your car than it does, hey, let's go spend a couple dollars at Target.
That neighborhood terrified me when I lived there, and it still terrifies me.
Buying a house right now in your current situation, probably the worst decision you could ever make in your life.
Hi, my name is Sarita Brown. I am calling in from California. I am 37.
What do you do for a living?
I currently am an instructional aide for kindergartners, and I also work part-time at Target, and I also do a little bit of modeling on the side.
And how much you make a year doing all of that?
I just started with the school district, so right now I don't really quite know how much I'll make a year with them. With Target, I think I made like $20,000. I barely get paid like $16 and some change an hour. So I think it's like 23,000. And with modeling, I actually just started, so there is no telling.
Part-time at Target, how many hours a week are you working?
I just started working part-time for Target, so it's really whenever I pick up hours. So the hours may vary. I can work a minimum of like 4.7 hours to a maximum of like 36 hours, I believe.
Okay, and how many hours is it looking like on a weekly basis on average?
So on average, it's probably like 4.7 because not a lot of people are giving up their shifts. So I'm what they call an on-demand team member. So on demand means I just get to pick up whatever shifts people put up for grabs.
Okay, so you don't really have control of your schedule. You're just picking up shifts.
And now,
So if you're only working 5 hours a week, I mean, you're making $320 to $400 a month basically before taxes, depending on how many, I guess, pay cycles are in there. So, okay, 5 hours, not a lot of time then. And then with the instructional aid for the school, how many hours you work in there and what's the pay there?
so I work 7 hours there. The pay is 17, I want to say 17.11. I know they sent me out my payments for the remainder of the year, and it's like $2,065 for every month that they're paying me until the rest of the year. So I do 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
Gross income between both of those, 28,000 and some change. That is not easy living in California then still making $28,000 a year.
Yes, it's still not.
Okay. And what did you do prior to working at Target and the school?
I was actually doing not Shipped, Instacart. I was actually doing Instacart for like a year, and then for a year and a half. And then prior to that, I was working at a temp agency as an office clerk or an office assistant.
And do you remember how much you're making a year for being the office clerk and then doing Instacart?
So for being an office clerk through the temp agency, I was making $19 and some change. And then with Instacart, it was really hard to say. I was making I wouldn't leave with less than $100 a day. So, and I would do that about 4 days out of the week.
How would you kind of look at and define your financial situation on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say it's 7. It's working towards the more better aspect than these past 2 years.
Let's kind of dive into current assets and current debts then. So we'll start with the current assets. What assets do we have right now?
Outside of my car, I don't have any assets.
Okay. And what would you say your car is worth right now?
Probably $1,000. It's over 10 years old.
Do we have anything in the bank account right now?
$7.
I wouldn't put you at a 7 then right now because that's not a spot I want to see you in being 37 years old. On the debt side, what debts do we have?
I have a student loan that I haven't paid in over 20 years, and it's totaling at about $14,000. And then I have a credit card debt. My credit card is almost max. So $1,200, my credit card limit is $1,200, but it's already at like $30 left available for me. And then what else do I have in debt? I currently owe a company that has actually went bankrupt. So I currently owe them probably like $900.
Okay, so that brings your total debt to just about $16,500. Brings your net worth then to about negative $15,500. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
We got to figure out how do we improve that out the gate with current situation between income, debts, assets. I would not put you at a 7. I'd probably put you in the lower half of a 2 or 3. Do you want to improve your financial situation or?
I definitely want to improve my current financial situation. And I also do want to be able to save money because I don't have any money saved. I don't even have a 401k saved at this point, and I know it's really latter in my life.
Well, these are things we're going to talk about. Let's kind of dive into your monthly expenses then you send over. So right now, between your Target job and the school, you're bringing in about just under $2,400 a month in gross income. So after taxes in the state of California, that should leave you about $2,000 a month. And then your expenses, we have car insurance, $138 a month, gas, $120. Rent, we don't currently have any rent. What's your living situation right now?
So I currently live out of my car, and my gas actually just went up to like $130 because gas is going up where I'm at.
Okay, and how long has that been going on, living out of your car for?
Since COVID,
Okay, so the last just couple of years you've been living out of your car.
the past 4 years, yes.
Are there shelters and stuff you've tried to go to, or have you just always just parked it somewhere and just been living out of it?
I've always just parked it somewhere, places where I feel that there is secure and there are cameras and that have like traffic coming in 24 hours a day.
Is it a van or is it like a small car?
It's a small car. I also have a van that I was actually trying to fix. It's currently in the shop. I was trying to gut it out and build everything in it that I needed, a bed, cabinet, storage space, sink, and all of that. But at the moment, it's sitting in the shop.
Okay, and let's figure out how do we get you out of that situation, because I don't want you living in your car for the rest of your life. And now that you have these two different jobs, let's figure out what are some options for you to get out of that situation. So total necessities with just your car is $268. Groceries, you put $0. Do you buy groceries or you just eat out for every meal?
I have to eat out for every meal. Sometimes I do try to like meal prep, especially when I had a full schedule here at Target. I would always try to meal prep. So we have refrigerators here and I can just keep them in the refrigerator and just eat them every day. But again, it was getting kind of troublesome to find somewhere to cook my food every week so that I could meal prep. So for the most part, I just try to find the cheapest places that have like $5 meals, or, I can just put things together and it'll, budget at a decent price.
Okay. And then subscriptions, we have $45 worth of subscriptions. Eating out, you put $200. Entertainment, you put $190. Why? What do you qualify as an entertainment expense?
So we go to like the carnival every year, both Orange Show and LA, oh not Orange Show, Orange County and LA County Fair. I go to that every year. I go to the mall. I go to the movies. And then, of course, I go out to eat. So all of that kind of, and that's not, and I probably shouldn't have put monthly. To me, more, that was probably like within the year. But those are just all of my entertainment.
So for shopping and entertainment, I just want to understand your thought process right now. It's like, why are we spending money on entertainment if you're not allocating money towards like to be able to get an apartment or afford to live somewhere outside of your car?
That's a really good question. With me, I don't like to live with stress. Like, it doesn't stress me out to live in my car. It's been pretty okay for me. In the beginning, it was a choice that I made, not because I had to be here, but because I wanted to be here. Now it's more so of a factor that I have to, in a sense, because I don't make enough to live anywhere else. Like, I either have to make 2.5 times the rent, and I don't with a lot of these places, because a lot of the one bedrooms are going out here for $1,200, and I don't make 2.5 times the rent, even with both my jobs. So right now, it's just a factor of I have to. But with me spending on entertainment, it's just because I don't like to be stressed out. I don't want to have to worry about anything. I just want to be happy in my life. So my entertainment is the way that I, just.
But I think living out of my vehicle would be more stressful to me personally than going to spending that money on shopping when you don't have the money to afford the shopping, when you got credit card debt and all these other debts. I would say if you're spending $200 a month on entertainment, that money needs to be going towards money that you can save up for a deposit for an apartment so that you can go get an apartment. You can get off of living out of your car and start getting some stability on that. So from my point of view, it stresses me more knowing that you're living out of your car than it does, hey, let's go spend a couple of dollars at Target or Walmart or Amazon or whatever else you're buying stuff at, because I would enjoy more of the comfort of my home, comfort of a home, of a bed, of running water, shower, than the comfort of whatever you might be buying at the mall or anything else for entertainment purposes, or the fair. So that's kind of my first call out here in the budget. And then we got health and fitness, $36, personal care, $30. So it brings your total living expenses to $768 roughly, which out And then debt payments, you have $44 for the credit card. So, I mean, that puts you just over $800 in monthly expenses. You are making $2,000 a month after taxes. So how long have you had those jobs, and where's that extra $1,200 a month going right now?
The schooling district, I barely just got my second or third paycheck from them. But Target, I've actually I just went on demand for Target about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, because I got the job at the school district. But with that, before then, I was with Target for a whole year and I was permanent in full time, and my hours were like 32, 36 hours max. And that I was only bringing in like probably 800, maybe 900 max in dollars every two paychecks.
So $1,400 a month if you're getting 2 paychecks in a month, basically. But that's still, if your living expenses are $700 or $800 a month, and you're still bringing in $1,800 or $1,400 from Target last year, that's still a room of $600 of buffer. That where's that money going?
A lot of it goes to me eating out. To be honest, like I spend almost over $300, $400 in just eating out within the month.
Okay, so eating out's not $200 a month that you put in here. It's more $300 to $400 a month.
Yeah.
So that brings your total expenses to $1,000, which my point is there's still some money missing somewhere. And let's figure out where is that going, because I mean, now that you're bringing in $2,000 a month, it's great that you have the new job, new opportunity. I'm happy for you on that. So now it's like, okay, now that you're gonna be making more money than you did last year, it's gonna be $600 to $700 more a month plus the modeling stuff. Where's that $600, $700 going? Let's get in a spot where you can go and get an apartment. Let's get in a spot where you can be paying down this debt. Let's get in a spot where it's not just evaporating to fast food or shopping or something else, so you can start building your future and your finances. And the first start of that, to do that, is budgeting. And I'm assuming, do you budget at all? Do you look at your monthly expenses and analyze them, or have you ever done that before?
I've tried to, like, I have everything that I pay for written down. I do keep forgetting things and then I write them down and then something else pops up. And so I try to, for the most part, keep everything that I have to pay, like all the monthly bills that I have to pay, written in my calendar and also written down somewhere where I can go and reference them. So that helps me a little bit, but it's still, I'm in the same boat you are. Even though it's my money, I'm still like, okay, where's all my money going? Because it's going somewhere.
You have to live on less than you make, and you have to just save the rest. And right now, what seems to me, I mean, you said you've been getting a couple paychecks from this new job. So that means there should be money left over, not $7.
Oh, I also meant to add for some that I really just forgot. So I owe Turo, not even Turo, Afterpay or Affirm. No, it's either Afterpay or Affirm. It's one of the A's, and I can't remember. I owe them 500 and something dollars that I pay on monthly. I pay them $60.68 monthly for a car rental from Turo that I just did.
So you did buy now, pay later for a car rental. What made you do that?
I was going out of town and I needed transportation being out of town because I wasn't able to drive my car out there.
Was this a pleasure vacation, or why are we?
Oh yeah, it was just my goddad sent for me to go back east to visit my mom and my aunt for the holidays, and I needed a car to get around. He wasn't able to pick me up from the airport, so I needed to get a car to get me from the airport that I was flying in to where they were.
I'm all for visiting family for the holidays. I'm curious if there were other ways to get there, like a taxi or Uber or something, versus $600 car rental, I guess is my point, because that's not a cheap bill to foot, especially in your situation.
Yeah, it was for like 7 days or 8 or 10 days or something like that. I was there for a pretty cool little time frame.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I would have, if I was in your shoes, would have figured out, hey, how can I spend, is the Uber $50 to their house, $100 instead of paying $600? And then, hey, guess what? Once you're at their house, can you borrow their cars? Can you walk to places?
They don't have cars. That's why I needed a car. They don't have cars. They walk everywhere, or they call for taxis and Ubers.
But then you could have walked with them then, and then saved yourself $400.
Oh no. They're used to that type of neighborhood. I'm not. That neighborhood terrified me when I lived there over 10 years ago. and it still terrifies me. But they grew up in that type of stuff. They're from New York and now they live in Pennsylvania. So they're used to that type of movement and that type of people. I'm not. I grew up in California all my life. Everything is sugar coated.
I'm just trying to point out some different things that could have been changed, and just pointing out, hey, there might have been cheaper alternatives than, instead of renting a car for $600, what would have some cheaper alternatives been while you're visiting them?
Yeah, and a lot of this was supposed to be put on my godfather, but it didn't happen to fall that way. So I had to foot the bill for some of this stuff.
But you're also a grown adult, so you got to take responsibility and action for your own stuff too. So your godfather's not going to pick up everything that you do, and you have to make sure that you put yourself in the best situation possible and take care of yourself, because no one's going to take care of yourself like you will.
Right, you're right.
We're going to dive through these monthly transactions and figure out, where's this money going? I don't have your December statements. I don't have your November, it looks like. So we'll go through November and see. And I think this is when you were still working more hours for Target, it looks like. And this was before your new job started. But in the month of November, do you know how much money you withdrew out of your bank account during this time period? How much money you spent, basically?
Like, oh, like 1,100 or something like that, maybe?
$1,400.
Okay.
That's kind of one of my main points when it comes to budgeting, is you thought maybe $1,100. $1,100 is actually $1,400. It's a $300 difference. And it's like, okay, unless you track and understand where this money is going, it's very difficult to figure out what needs to change. Where are you overspending? I mean, looking at here, there's probably 40 transactions at least, maybe 50. And it's like, you look at these and they're like, oh, they're $10 transactions, $30 transactions. It doesn't add too much, but guess what? When you got 30, 40, 50 of those, 30 transactions or 50 transactions times $30 on average is $1,500. And so those add up really quickly, even though they look like small amounts. And so during this time period, it looks like you made $1,600. It looks like majority from your job at Target during this time period. So there's a couple of different deposits from Target there. But then during this, you also, I see, obviously we talked about food. You do a lot of eating out because you live out of your car right now. But we have a lot of Cash App transactions. Where are all these going? Because I see one for $90, one for $50, one for $139, one for $36.
So those are how I pay my bills. I have nothing attached to my bank account because I've overdrafted my account in the past. So I'm like, in order for me to protect the bank accounts that I've had for over a decade, I just chose to do it that way. I made all my bills come out of that account. So when I do get paid, I felt like that was a step in me and being able to help me save. I can put all of my bills into a completely different account, and they can just pull all the money out so that I can better manage what I have left over. And it was working at a point in time, but now I'm just hitting myself again with other stuff, putting other stuff on my plate, piling, pay now, buy now, pay later type things on my plate. So
yeah, that's one of the things with money, is like having complex systems where you're moving money around, money gets lost. So I like figuring out what is an easy way to manage finances all in and out in one account. Let's see. We got, like I said, a lot of eating out, got your gas.
Some of that Cash App too is also for me eating out, because I either didn't have my bank card on me or I forgot it in my car, and I transferred it easily to my phone because I used Tap sometimes. So
what is the Zelle for church, BTCC?
So those are my tithes and offerings. I pay my tithes and offerings to my church.
I'm all for tithing and giving to your church, but my concern with that right now is you're trying to help other people in need, but the issue is you're suffocating yourself if you're sending out this much money towards charitable contributions like that before you get your finances in order. And the goal should be, in my opinion, is how do you get your finances in order so that you're in a situation where you can give money to people in need without having to worry about it. But right now, during this time, you send over about $150 or $160 to your church. And again, that could be money that could be going towards saving money so you can put a deposit down in an apartment, so you can be paying rent. And then once you get stable with your finances, okay, great. Let's catch up contributions towards whatever charitable giving or church that you want to do. Does that make sense? Or what do you think about that?
It makes sense, but me doing tithes and offerings is something that I'm not going to ever not do, no matter how much money I do or don't have. There was a point at where I didn't have a job at all, and my rent was still being paid because I was paying my tithes and offerings because I believe in God. My rent was still being paid with me not having a job. Like, no cash coming in. My rent was still being paid. My lights were still on. My cell phone was still working. Gas was still in my car because money was coming in, but it wasn't from me working. Like where it was coming from at this point in time, I don't remember because it was so long ago, but money was always coming in. So I didn't need for anything. Like I had food stamps, so I didn't have to worry about food. But as far as like paying all of my bills, I had no financial income, but they were still being met. So my tithes and my offerings is something that I've not wavered in over 10 years.
Is there any room for bringing those down a little bit? I commend you for that. I mean, they've helped you out a lot. And is there any wiggle room for like, hey, cut that down a little bit so you have an extra $50 in your pocket so you can get on your feet again? Because my concern is when you're sending money out the door in your current situation, it's going to be very difficult to get on your feet, to get your own place, and just set yourself up for success where you can give more time, give more money, and give more to people in need if you're not taking care of yourself first and foremost.
To be honest, no. I feel like that is me taking care of myself now and in my future, because the Lord tells us that we are to give a tenth of our increase back unto Him because He gave it unto us. So without Him, I wouldn't be able to even give my tithes and my offerings. I wouldn't be able to even be on your show right now if it wasn't for, me obeying what the Lord has told me to do as a child of His. So that is something that I gave a tenth of every single last money that comes in, whether it's somebody giving me money or whether it's money that I've earned from work. 10% of it always goes to the Lord before I do anything else.
Trying to point out things. What are some things that I'm not saying, hey, don't ever give again, but what are some things that can help you get on your feet? Because my concern for you right now is living in your car. You've been doing it for 4 years. We have to be making some changes, and you continue doing the same things over and over again. The same amount of money that you've been making, same amount of money that's been going out the door. It's going to be virtually impossible to ever get on your feet and get an apartment that you can afford to live in or that will accept you. Okay, maybe you cut it down to 5% for the next couple of months until you get an apartment, and then you can increase it to 15% when you get on your feet to kind of catch back up to that. Because that's what I want for you. I don't want you to. I don't want to have a catch-up call with you in 12 months, 6 months, and you're still living in your car. You're still eating out every single meal, and frankly, that was stresses me out just thinking about that 6 months from now, 12 months from now, getting an update from you and still living in your car. So I'm just trying to think, what are some things that you can do right now that can kind of help you get out of that situation? What are some areas that can cut back on? Stuff like the Turo. I know you said very strong-headed in that area. Didn't want to do that. The tithing, I understand that too. But those are, again, things that's hundreds of dollars that are being spent on things that I'm not saying indefinitely. I'm not saying, hey, don't ever do this again, but some things that could be changed to help get yourself on your feet again. So
I'm actually currently in the process. I'm dealing with an organization called NACA. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. An organization called NACA. They help people who are low income buy their first home with 1% as the down payment of the house cost. So I'm currently right now in the process of that, working with them for that.
Buying a house right now in your current situation, probably the worst decision you could ever make in your life, because you have $7 in your bank account right now. If your water line bursts, if your roof breaks, you have no money to pay for it. And if you can't afford rent right now, you can't afford to have a house. And a water line burst, that's going to cost you $5,000. That's going to cost you $3,000. And guess what? That's going to go on a credit card because you don't have the money to pay for it. And then guess what? Your debt's going to increase, and you're just going to find yourself in this vicious cycle of debt. So buying a house right now would probably be the worst thing you could do, because I can promise you something will go wrong with that house, and you will have expenses you didn't account for, and you won't be able to pay for it. Please, please, please do not even think about that right now, given your current situation. If you are debt-free, if you are no credit card debt, don't owe company money, don't have Afterpay, student loans haven't paid on in 20 years, and you can afford to live in an apartment yourself and make that meet for at least a year, then, and have an emergency fund saved up, then let's think about buying a house. And if you can, then there's other criteria when it comes to buying a house based off of how much money you're making, based off of how long you want to live there. But until then, buying a house will just be a curse to you given your current situation.
I mean, you're right for the most part. It's just, this has been something that I've been working with them on for years. It's not something that I just started. I've actually been with NACA since COVID happened, or a little bit after COVID happened, working with them on building the steps to build my credit, get out of debt, save up the money that's needed to get the house. And I wouldn't be the only person living in the house. Again, I still do understand the factors that even if I'm not the only person, we all have to put in, and it's going to be a burden to all of us. But this is about me and my finances, not about them and theirs, because I don't know about theirs. But this has just been an ongoing process.
Is this process like you'd be buying a house with other people?
Yes. So since my mother and her youngest sister are getting up in age, they're senior citizens, they both are getting to the point to where they're not able to do for themselves as they used to. So, and I can't have them living on the East Coast by themselves. So I need them to be here, somewhere close. So instead of them struggling, because my mother lived out here already before, and SSI doesn't pay her enough to live anywhere in a California period by herself. And since that be the case, I said it would be best that she come and stay with me, because even when she gets older, whether I'm in my own house or not, that would be my option period. My mother is not going into a home unless they need a nurse that I can't be. My mother is going to be with me. So my mother and her younger sister, my mother gets her income and my aunt works. So my aunt would just be transferring, and we all three would be living together.
You need to get yourself on your feet first too, because if they're older, if your mother doesn't have enough Social Security income coming in to live on her own, she's not gonna have enough Social Security income to pay for stuff breaking in the house. And you don't have enough money to fix things in the house either right now. And I don't know your aunt's situation either, but my point being is buying a house with three people together becomes very complicated, and becomes everyone has different financial situations, everyone has different jobs, different income, different priorities, and it just becomes very sticky. And buying a house, in my opinion, it's not a good idea unless you are married. A family dynamic can be and it can tear you apart. It can work out great, or it can tear you apart. There's probably not really an in between. So, like in an instance that, say, for example, you were in a situation where you had an emergency fund saved up, you had income to support buying a house. An instance that could happen is, okay, you buy a house and your aunt and your mother move in with you and they pay you rent. And then basically you're what's called house hacking, and you own the entire house and you rent out the other rooms to them and they pay you income versus paying you being on the mortgage. That way it's kind of it's a renter's agreement and they're paying you your rent, but then one person's responsible for the house. So right now I would say that's still a terrible idea, but given your current situation, I would say, okay, first you need to get on your feet and be able to live in a place. And maybe that looks like your mother moving out here and y'all get a 2-bedroom apartment together, or y'all get a 3-bedroom apartment with your aunt moving in as well. And then guess what? Instead of paying, like you said, $1,200 a month for a 1-bedroom, maybe you can get a 3-bedroom for $2,000, or maybe it's $1,800. I don't know what prices look like in the area you are in California or whatnot, but I'm just spitballing ideas. Then guess what? Then you each owe $600 a month or $700 a month. And that's something that right now you would be able to afford with your income. And that way that reduces your housing expenses from $1,200 from 1-bedroom that you can't afford right now to $700. And then also gets your mother and your aunt over to where you want to live as well. And that also has to be a price point that they can afford comfortably as well. Because again, if you all co-sign on a lease together and your mother, say for example, can't afford it, or your great aunt, guess what? That puts it on you footing the bill because you're legally obligated to as a co-signer on the lease. 1,000% stay away from buying a house right now, given that you have the $16,000 in debt and you haven't even lived in a apartment for the last few years, and going from the extreme of living in a car to owning a house. There are costs and things associated with owning a house that you probably have never even thought of. But I'll go jump back on the transactions. I think most of it's gas, food. Like we do see Cold Stone Creamery. So it looks like you got yourself a little ice cream treat at Cold Stone on November 20th. And besides that, I mean, it looks like normal food and some of the tithing stuff. So again, when it comes to Cold Stone, those again are things that priorities, like we talked about before, is you wonder why you can't afford rent or you can't afford to save money, and it's because you're prioritizing ice cream, that short-term satisfaction. You're prioritizing ice cream and the short-term satisfaction over, hey, getting your financial situation in order. So, and then on the credit card, you spent $23 at Sally Beauty Company. Is that for a haircut or what is that for?
Oh, Sally Beauties is like a beauty supply place. I also forgot to say I'm not necessarily a content creator, but I do my nails and I post them onto social media.
Do you get paid for this?
No, I can't say it is a way for me to get paid. I just haven't done it in a little while. But it was a way for me to also make money, to be, in a sense, a content creator, or to help pay for my schooling to go to nail tech school. so that I can be a nail tech and make extra money on the side.
Did you make any money with them, or how much money are you making from them?
I'm not making any money right now. It was just for me to try to build a brand before actually getting into the schooling, like showing people what I can do on my own, then getting into the schooling, getting the license, and then now making the money from me being able to actually do the work.
Okay, so you're just buying products from them to test and post on social media about.
Yeah. So those are something that are not priorities that I for sure know.
If it's not necessary to live today, then hey, let's push it off for a little bit and figure out how can we live today, keep that money in your bank account, or use it to pay off debt, and then you can enjoy those fun things in life or try those different things later down the line. But when it comes to all these expenses, I mean, the main thing I see right now is you're bringing in more money than you have the last few years, which is awesome. So with this new job and with Target as part-time and then modeling, you make a couple $100 as well there. My concern is without a budget in place, the money is going to disappear just as quickly as it came in. And I want you to be in a spot where you can save money and you can save up whatever security deposit is in an apartment. You can save up the security deposit for that, and you can go and move in somewhere and get a home. So you have a place to live. When you get that place to live, you can't go and furnish it with the nicest things in the world and everything else between and max that out on a firm or credit cards, everything else in between. But that'd be my first priority for you. I mean, I know you have credit card debt. I know you have all these other things. My number one priority for you, if I was you, would be just having a stable environment, safe place to live. And with your income right now, yeah, it's going to be difficult to get approved for most places. So what I would be looking at is what are some Facebook groups you can get into that are people that you think you would get along with and vet and find a roommate that is looking for a place, and you split a 2-bedroom apartment or 3-bedroom apartment and your rent's not $1,200, maybe it's $700. But that would be my number one priority for you, even before the credit card debt. Usually I'm like, hey, attack the debt, attack the debt, attack the debt. Right now you don't have a place to live besides your car. And I don't want you to live like that for the rest of your life. And so my number one priority for you would be, how can you find a place to live that fits your budget and that 100% is right now, especially in California, is roommates. And it might not be living in, it's not living in Santa Monica, it's not living in Malibu, but finding a safe neighborhood apartment complex and finding one or two individuals that you find on Facebook groups or other, maybe go to your church and ask them, is there people looking for roommates in your church? That could be something. Find people at church and talk to them, and find people that you are comfortable with, but find roommates so that you can go and pay $700, $800 a month, and you can actually afford to live somewhere, have a bed, and get off of the streets on your car. And then once you have that, okay, great. Now you have to figure out, now that should help with your eating out expenses, hopefully, because you can then have a refrigerator in the apartment and cook food at home. So that's going to reduce that. Entertainment needs to go away. Subscriptions, I would be getting rid of those for now as well. I'm not sure how many or what different subscriptions you have. If it's Netflix or TV or whatever else is, I'd be putting those on the back burner until you kind of get in a stable spot. First a month or two in this apartment so you can understand how much money you have left over. Get yourself kind of stable. Buy furniture. Yep, I'd go very bare bones on the furniture. But you probably need a pot, probably need a pan, probably need a couple plates at IKEA or Walmart or something. Wouldn't be buying anything nice. I don't want to be racking up credit card debt, but I want you to get in a spot where you can take your $2,000 you're making, spend that on rent, spend that the first month, spend the rest of that on the minimum payments of debt, and then spend the rest on furnishing your apartment with mattress, pots, pans, whatever else you need to cook to get yourself on your feet. And then from there, once you have a place to live, now you have to start figuring out how do you pay off this debt, how do you attack this debt? And if you have an apartment in here and you say you're paying $800 a month for living, that's going to bring your total expenses to $1,800. And that means you're only about $200 a month left over after that. And that is without cutting some of these expenses like the eating out, the subscriptions, entertainment. So we're cutting those down to bare bones. Hopefully we'll give you some more margin. And then hopefully also you can pick up more hours at Target or find another opportunity that can work on the weekends that can give you more than 5 hours a week. If you go find a job at retail that you're working 5 hours on Saturday, 5 hours on Sunday, give you an extra $160 a week, that's going to go a long way in terms of being able to get out of this debt. So first priority is get an apartment or save money so you can get an apartment. Second is furnish that as bare bones as possible with whatever cash you have that month, not taking out any more debt. And then third is increasing your income and cutting your expenses so that you can start paying off this debt. I mean, with Afterpay, the credit cards, the company you owe $900, those are things that need to start prioritizing paying those down so that you don't have minimum payments anymore and so that you don't have to worry about that anymore. I mean, it's money that you owe people and it's just going to continue to consume you until you take action on it. And I can promise you, those credit card companies, and after they want their money, they're going to get it one way or another. So whether it's taking you to collections, garnishing your wages, they're going to figure out ways to get their money because they want it, or they're going to sell it to someone who's going to figure out how to get it out of you. So once you get set up in the apartment, figure out how you can get more hours at Target or find other jobs that you can pick up on the weekends to make a little bit extra money on top of the school stuff, and then all that money start going towards paying off this debt. Don't go and make $2,500 a month or $3,000 a month, and then all that money gets thrown away at shopping or eating out or different things. That is money that needs to be going towards prioritizing paying off this debt so that one day you wake up and you can cover your rent with ease, you have no debt, and you can start spending on things that you want. That ice cream, that going to see your family, or traveling, whatever it looks like. But it's very difficult to do that when you have, or saving up money for a house. And once you get out of this debt, you can start saving money. If you're paying $1,000 a month towards paying off this debt, then guess what? That's $1,000 a month you can start saving towards saving up for buying a house. Or if you need to save up to buy a new car, you're not going to be able to save up to buy a house or save up to have an emergency fund to be able to afford to live in a house when you have all these debt payments and with your current expenses and everything right now. So does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense, yes.
And it starts by budgeting. It starts by tracking your expenses, knowing every single dollar that comes in and out of your bank account, where it's going, what type of category is it, how much you spend on eating out, how much you spending on entertainment, how much are you spending on gas, and just understand that fully so that you know at the end of each month, hey, you have $500 left over. You have $600 left over. And understand, okay, now I can throw that at the debt. Now I can do this. Right now you have $7 in your bank account. If an emergency comes up, you have a flat tire, you're swiping your credit card and that debt's going up, or you're overdrafting, which isn't good. So having $1,000 emergency fund at least puts you in a better spot than do today if an emergency arises. And then everything after that, hey, start throwing that at the debt to start paying it off. So my hope and goal for you is this is just a hopefully beneficial conversation for you to start looking at what can you do to change your financial situation so that you can get on your feet, so you can find roommates to live in an apartment, get a roof over your head, and start learning more about finances, how to get out of debt, how to pay off debt. And then once that's done, that's when the fun starts, and that comes all about investing and saving for the future. And you're 37 years old right now, so you still have years of life ahead of you. And if you start taking action on this and you get your finances in order, I mean, you have $16,000 worth of debt, or $17,000 worth of debt. If you can increase your income and pay this off in the next 18 months, it's about $1,000 a month, then you're going to have your whole life ahead of you from when you're almost 39 to when you're 67, which is retirement age, to start saving and investing for the future. So if you start investing $1,000 a month when you're 39 until you're 67, it'll be 28 years. You'll have over $1 million. And that'd be a phenomenal spot to be in. I mean, that's $1 million more dollars than you have today. So that would allow you to retire, to do things you want to do, enjoy life a little bit, and not have to worry about finances. So that's why it's very important to start changing and taking action on this now, because if you wait until you're 49 to start that same thing, you'd have $400,000 versus $1 million. And so that just shows how the course of 10 years can drastically impact your financial situation if you decide to start now versus 10 years from now. And the last thing is educating yourself. Finances is a lot about knowledge. I mean, but then the rest of it is all behavior. And it's all about resisting the urge to buy those luxury items, resisting those urge for afterpay, resisting the urge for swiping that credit card. And that's all psychological. And the rest of it, yes, there's knowledge that you need a foundation of how to budget, how to invest, how to pay off debt. But then it comes down to psychology after that. I mean, psychology is what got you into debt because you wanted to buy something on a credit card when you didn't have the money in your bank account. My goals for you is how do you get into an apartment as quickly as possible that's safe? I would say I would try to be under $700 a month, or at $700. So if you find 3 people to live in an apartment that's $2,000 a month or $1,800 a month, that's going to give you some more margin, more room to start paying down this debt. And then number 2 is budgeting. You need to have a budget, a strict budget that you're following, figuring out ways to increase your income with more hours at Target or more hours at another company, or picking up more modeling opportunities, and then start attacking this debt so that you can get out of this debt in the next 18 to 24 months. And then from there, that's where the fun starts of saving money for an emergency fund first, and then start saving money for a house if you want to do that, and then start saving money for investing for the future. So does that all make sense? Do you have any questions?
No, it does all make sense. And I tell myself that too. I have to fight my mind to want to buy things. I can't just keep giving in to, oh, I just want this because I want this. And I tell myself that a lot.
The only person that's going to take care of yourself, the only person that's going to change your situation is yourself. And I mean, we didn't even talk about the student loans, but you have $14,000 of student loans that haven't been paid in 20 years. Obviously, that is money that you signed up, that you said, hey, I'm going to pay this back. That is the lowest priority out of these because the debt snowball method is the largest balance. So I'd say figure out the other ones first, and then you need to start figuring out how do you start paying that off as quickly as possible as well, so that you wake up one day and you say, hey, I don't owe anyone a dime. Whatever I make is mine, and I can spend it how I want. I can give it how I want. I can spend it how I want. I can invest it how I want. The only way to do that is to make sure that you owe no one any money. So
Yeah, right now with my student loan, I'm actually on a program to where I don't have to pay anything for 25 years. And after 20, is it 25 years or 10 years? One of the two, that at the end of those years, they're going to reassess me. And if I still qualify for the program, my debt, all I would have to pay is like a percentage of what I owed. But I have to still continue to qualify every year for the program that I'm on.
is that for 25 years from today, or?
No, so I've been actually on this program for about 3, 4 years.
So you'd have to wait 25 more years to see if you'd qualify. And my point of view would be, why wait 22 more years for the hopes and pray that the government fixes this and gets rid of it versus, hey, you can knock this out in the next 24 months yourself and be done with it and never have to think about it again. That's the mindset I would have. I mean, it's money that you signed up and said, hey, I'm going to take this and I'm going to pay it back. And instead of waiting on the government to fix your problems or to solve that or hope and pray that they'll forgive it, it's not waiting 23 years and hoping that they get rid of it. It's, hey, I need to spend less money than I make and I need to throw money at this debt and get rid of it myself. What would you say your biggest lesson biggest lesson you've learned from this experience tonight?
Mental strength, to put it in a category, just having to not give in to my wants and actually fall more on what is actually needed. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.